Ever wonder why some of your favorite 90s cartoons vanished without a trace? The 90s brought us colorful characters and wild stories, but not all of them made it to reruns. Some were pulled from the airwaves, banned for being too edgy, too risky, or simply too controversial. In this list, we dive into 15 of the most controversial animated shows from the 90s. Shows you almost forgot existed.
There's nothing wrong with my left hook.
Get ready for a trip down memory lane, where animation wasn't afraid to break the rules. The Cramp Twins, 1999. The Cramp Twins was an animated series that aired in 1999, filled with dark humor and grotesque animation. The show featured two brothers, Wayne and Lucien, who lived in a distorted world filled with dysfunctional family dynamics. While the show was appreciated in Europe for its satirical take on childhood, it was considered too disturbing for American audiences. Parents found the cynical humor and ugly art style too much for their kids. The show was quickly pulled from U.S. networks, but it has remained a cult classic. The Cramp Twins dared to show childhood as messy and imperfect, an honesty that made it stand out in a sea of sanitization. Darkwing Duck, Hot Spells, 1992. In the Darkwing Duck episode, Hot Spells, viewers were introduced to a darker side of Disney animation. The episode explored themes of temptation, magic, and the battle between good and evil. When Gosselin, Darkwing's sidekick, becomes curious about forbidden knowledge, it leads to a dangerous encounter with dark forces. The portrayal of magic and a devil-like figure disturbed some religious groups, and the episode was pulled after airing once. Hot Spells dared to tackle moral dilemmas and show the consequences of curiosity, but its unsettling themes caused it to vanish, leaving behind a legacy of what could have been a powerful, mature, animated episode. Gargoyles, Deadly Force, 1994. Gargoyles was an animated series that pushed boundaries with its gothic, tragic storytelling. In the Deadly Force episode, a gargoyle named Broadway accidentally shoots his friend Elisa, leading to a heartbreaking exploration of guilt and the consequences of violence. The episode was too intense for children's programming, leading to its removal after a single broadcast. Parents and advocacy groups were outraged by the depiction of gun violence. The episode remains a significant moment in animation, as it offered a raw portrayal of the emotional toll violence takes. It showed that cartoons could handle tough subjects, even if it wasn't always palatable for younger audiences. The Simpsons, The City of New York versus Homer Simpson, 1997, pulled after September 11th. The Simpsons episode, The City of New York versus Homer Simpson, originally aired in 1997, but after the September 11th attacks, it was pulled from syndication. The episode, which features Homer standing in front of the World Trade Center, had become too painful to watch in the wake of the tragedy. What was once a humorous take on Homer's stubbornness became an uncomfortable reminder of the devastation. For years, the episode was unavailable on TV, symbolizing the impact of 9/11 on the nation's collective memory. When it eventually returned, the episode was viewed through a new lens, turning a once comedic story into a time capsule of a world forever changed. Beavis and Butt-Head, Fire Episodes, 1993 to 94. The Beavis and Butt-Head episode, where Beavis chants "Fire, Fire," led to one of the biggest controversies in 1990s television. A real-life tragedy occurred when a young boy allegedly set fire to his home while imitating the characters. Following the incident, Beavis and Butt-Head was censored, and episodes involving fire were pulled from the air. The incident sparked debates over the influence of media on children, and the show's creators were forced to tone down its edginess. Beavis and Butt-Head became an example of how far TV networks would go to protect their audiences from what they deemed harmful content, turning the Fire episodes into a legend of what was too risky for television. Tiny Toon Adventures, Elephant Issues, 1991. Tiny Toon Adventures was a popular cartoon in the early 90s, but the episode Elephant Issues stirred up controversy. The plot followed the characters Buster, Babs, and Plucky engaging in risky behavior, such as drinking and driving. Although the episode was meant to be a cautionary tale about the dangers of peer pressure, it was deemed inappropriate by parents and child advocacy groups. The episode was pulled from airing after just one broadcast and became one of the most talked-about lost episodes of the show. Elephant Issues remains a forgotten gem, as it offered a rare glimpse into the more mature side of animated storytelling for kids. Ren and Stimpy, adult party cartoon, 1999 pilot. The Ren and Stimpy revival, in 1999, adult party cartoon, was not what most fans expected. The original show had already pushed boundaries with its bizarre humor, but the new version crossed a line into explicit territory. The pilot episode was filled with sexual content, excessive violence, and crude humor, which made it too much for most TV networks. Despite its potential to attract adult viewers, the show was quickly shelved after test screenings. Adult Party Cartoon is now considered an example of how far the series wanted to go, but was never allowed to. Its cancellation proved that even the most boundary-pushing shows can have limits. Rocko's Modern Life, Leoprogs and Others, 1993 to 1996. Rocko's Modern Life was known for its zany and absurd humor, but the episode Leoprogs and Others pushed the limits of what was acceptable for children's television. In this episode, a frog seduces Rocko with suggestive innuendo and adult themes. Although it was meant to be satirical, the underlying adult humor didn't sit well with the network or many parents. The episode was quickly pulled, and many others like it faced heavy censorship. Leoprogs and Others has since become a symbol of how Rocko's Modern Life challenged societal norms, often dancing on the line between children's content and adult satire, making it both loved and controversial. SWAT Kats, The Radical Squadron, 1993 to 1995. SWAT Kats, The Radical Squadron was an action-packed animated series that featured two vigilante cats fighting crime in Mega Cat City. With its intense battles and mature themes, the show was unlike anything else on Saturday morning TV. However, the violence, though never gratuitous, was deemed too much for young audiences by network executives. Despite strong ratings and a dedicated fanbase, the show was canceled after 2 seasons. SWAT Kats remains a beloved cult classic, known for its sharp animation and mature storytelling that treated children as capable of handling real stakes, rather than keeping them in a world of harmless slapstick. Dexter's Laboratory, Rude Removal, 1998. Dexter's Laboratory was known for its mix of clever science and childhood whimsy, but Rude Removal, a special episode from 1998, ventured into uncharted territory. The plot involved Dexter creating a machine to remove his rudeness, resulting in profane, wild versions of himself and his sister, Dee Dee. The episode was packed with bleeped-out profanity and inappropriate humor for a children's show. It was never aired due to its edgy content and was considered too daring for its time. Despite its banishment, Rude Removal later surfaced on Adult Swim, where it became a quirky piece of animation history that showed how far kids' shows were willing to go when pushed to the edge. Pokémon Electric Soldier Porygon, 1997. The episode Electric Soldier Porygon from Pokémon is infamous for its impact on children in Japan. The episode featured flashing lights and rapid animations, which caused hundreds of children to experience seizures while watching. The episode was quickly pulled from airing, and Porygon, the digital Pokémon at the center of the controversy, was never featured again in the franchise. Electric Soldier Porygon remains a tragic footnote in Pokémon's history, highlighting the dangers of animation choices and how a single episode's risk could cause a national health scare. To this day, it's one of the most talked-about banned episodes in animation history. Ren and Stimpy Show, Man's Best Friend, 1992. Ren and Stimpy was known for pushing boundaries with its grotesque humor and exaggerated slapstick violence. But the episode Man's Best Friend went too far, featuring a brutal scene in which Ren violently beats George Liquor, a character modeled after the archetypal authoritarian figure. The episode, which was dark and disturbing in its depiction of violence, was pulled from airing by Nickelodeon. The show's creator, John Kricfalusi, clashed with the network over its censorship. This episode became part of Ren and Stimpy's underground reputation, showing how the series' chaotic humor sometimes ventured into uncharted, unacceptable territory. Cow and Chicken. Buffalo Gals. 1998. The Cow and Chicken episode Buffalo Gals was controversial for its portrayal of a lesbian biker gang. The group was shown in an exaggerated and humorous way, but the stereotypes were too much for network censors. While Cow and Chicken often played with bizarre, surreal humor, this particular episode was seen as crossing a line with its subtext. The episode was pulled, but its existence has since become a part of the show's legacy, raising questions about representation and how certain themes were handled in children's television. It remains a rare instance of queer coding in mainstream animated content. Animaniacs, Potty Emergency, and other pulled segments. 1993 to 98. Animaniacs was known for its zany humor and quick-witted gags, often blending adult and child-friendly content. One of the most controversial segments was Potty Emergency, which involved a frantic search for a bathroom that included adult innuendo. The segment was deemed too vulgar and was pulled from reruns. In addition, several other sketches from Animaniacs faced similar fates, with some gags edited or removed entirely. Despite this, the show's reputation for subversive humor and bold commentary on pop culture only grew, and the banned sketches contributed to its legacy as a cartoon that wasn't afraid to challenge the norms. Batman, the animated series, Holiday Nights and Other Altered Episodes, 1992 to 95. Batman, the animated series, was a groundbreaking show, combining noir storytelling with the superhero genre. However, several episodes, including Holiday Nights, were altered due to their mature themes. Holiday Nights featured a romantic subplot with implied sexuality, which was trimmed down for children's audiences. Other episodes dealing with drugs, guns, and death were either heavily edited or pulled altogether. Despite the censorship, Batman, the animated series, remained a masterpiece, and the altered episodes serve as a reminder of how television networks often sanitized content to ensure it was safe for younger audiences, even if that meant losing some of the series' sharpest edges. These 15 controversial 90s cartoons may have been erased from the airwaves, but their legacy still lingers. They challenged the norms, pushed boundaries, and sparked conversations that continue today. Whether you loved them or hated them, these shows were a bold reminder that animation can be more than just entertainment. It can be a powerful force for change. If you enjoyed this blast from the past, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more forgotten stories from the world of cartoons.